When we first met, we were just 16. We started dating in high school, and our story began at school. It was a short courtship, but it was full of love and excitement. We held hands while walking in the square, enjoying every moment. We were so excited to be together, and it was a time of passion and adventure for us. After 6 months, we were blessed with a pregnancy. We were both in our teens when we started dating, and our relationship was full of the excitement of holding hands and enjoying every moment. It was a short-lived romance, lasting only about 6 months. I got pregnant, and we had a child together. He was the same age as me, and we talked about what we would do now. He wasn't sure if he wanted to be with me, but he did want to go to college and live his own life. When our parents found out, they were very supportive. We talked about what the best choice would be, and we decided that it would be best for us to stay together. We had only known each other for months, but we had formed a strong bond, and we wanted to build a family together. We talked about what we do now, and I told him that I wanted to be with him. He didn't know if he would be with me, but he said he wanted to go to college and live the life he wanted. When we talked about it, we decided that it would be best for us to stay together. We had only known each other for a few months, but we had formed a strong bond, and we had built a wedding together. I think that's the first point that I think my marriage didn't work out, because we didn't choose to stay together by chance. We had to stay together for a greater reason, the creation of a child. We didn't have time to see each other's future desires for the other. I chose you for my life, even though we lived in separate houses. We were more serious about our relationship. I'll start by saying that I think my marriage didn't work out, because we didn't choose each other. We stayed together by chance, and we had to stay together for a greater reason, the creation of a child. So, we didn't have time to see each other's future characteristics and defects. We didn't say, "I choose you to my life," even though we lived in separate houses. We were still in a relationship, but we were more serious. Each week, I went home to his mother, where he lived, and he went to my mother's house, where I lived. Our daughter was born while we were in this situation. She lived with me, and during the years we dated, we learned to live well together. We shared the same struggle of being a father and a mother in adolescence. Then, we got together quite right, but I felt it was more as during the week of each other's week, we had the opportunity to spend time with each other's families. At the time, my partner was living with his mother, and I was living with my mother. Our daughter was born during this period. She was living with me, and over the years, we had the chance to learn about each other. We shared the same journey of navigating adolescence as parents. Eventually, we decided to get together as partners. At the beginning, I felt like it was more of a friendship, but as time went on, I started feeling more and more drawn to the idea of marriage. I wanted to leave my house and live with my mother. I had this feeling when I was 20, and I knew that I wanted to marry and raise our daughter together. It felt like we were growing up together, and it was important for us to make our own space as adults. A friendship, a bond, a partnership, all of these are important. When I started feeling ready to get married, I wanted to marry and leave my house. I wanted to be with my mother. I had that feeling when I was 20. So, at 20, I felt that desire to marry and raise our daughter together. I felt that it was important to become adults and live with our parents until then. He didn't want to get married legally. He thought it was silly. So, another point to consider, he no longer had this view of marriage as a big commitment. Marrying legally is very different from living together. But I pressed on. I said, "No, I want to marry. I want to be legally married. I want to live only with you and our daughter." And he ended up being convinced by me. I was so happy to be independent, and he was happy to be with me. We didn't want to get married legally, though. He thought it was silly. So, we didn't see the wedding as a big commitment, and living together was different from getting married. But I was determined. I said, "No, I want to marry you. I want to be legally married. I want to live only with you and our daughter." And he ended up agreeing with me. The beginning of this wedding was wonderful. Wow, I'm realizing a dream. I'm having a family. I have my daughter. I loved being a housewife, but I liked working too. During this time, I left a job and was waiting to enter another. Then, I played that I washed his underwear with pleasure, because I liked this life too much. I wanted to do what was right. But a short time after we got married, I suffered a betrayal. The start of this wedding was like a dream come true for me. I'm so happy to be starting a family. I have my daughter, and I love being a housewife. I worked too, but I quit that job to get ready for the wedding. I even washed his underwear with joy, because I was so in love with this life. I wanted to do what was right, but not long after we got married, I was betrayed. It was my first big fall in marriage. I started to question our relationship, and I found out about his other relationship through a message on WhatsApp. Then I found out he was with someone else. He said he and I got married too young, and he hadn't had time to experience life. He wanted to live a different experience, but he didn't think about me. It was my first fall right after we got married, and I started to wonder about our relationship. I got a message on WhatsApp from him, and it was the first time I felt like he was cheating on me. I found out he was seeing someone else, and he said he hadn't had time to really experience life, because he was so young when we got married. He said he wanted to have experiences, but he didn't think about me or make me a priority. It was a choice that we didn't make together, and he didn't have a good view of marriage. I wanted to have a family and a life with him, and I was okay with that. Then, there was the issue of betrayal. I really followed the beautiful relationship between them, and I thought about getting a divorce. I decided to move and look for a place to live. I had to make a lot of decisions at once. I was trying to figure out how to go about getting a divorce, and I was trying to imagine what my life would look like after it was over. I was trying to imagine how my children would be affected, and I was trying to figure out how to deal with the financial issues. As I was going through the process of organizing this divorce, I imagined what my life would look like after it was over. I thought, this will be my life from now on, and my children will be mine and mine alone. I even imagined that I could move away from my children, because I was worried about how they would react. I also had some financial concerns, since my income would be reduced. But I was lucky to have time to plan this divorce, and I was able to do it step by step. I spent a day researching how to hide my divorce. I talked to my support network, including my family, and I even brought it up with my mother and aunt. I wanted to be independent, but I knew I wouldn't be alone. I would need support with my daughters and maybe some financial aid. I was scared about what the future would bring, but I had a strong support system in place. I had help from facilitators, therapy, and a network of people around me. Even after I found a place to live, I was able to wait for the divorce to be finalized. I thought, this is the right thing to do. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I'm doing my best to make things better for my children and myself. I had support from the network, facilitators for my divorce, and a therapist. It was really important to have that support and therapy. Even after I found a place to live, which I bought at a great price, I waited for the divorce to be finalized. I thought, my God, am I doing the right thing? I'm going to raise 2 children without a father. I felt that was my fault. I'm going to raise 2 children without a father, because I'm going to bring them close to their father. I decided to separate, and had this first talk with him. Then, I started thinking about my life and every step I took. I told him, I'm looking for an apartment, because we're going to separate. You know, right? I'm going to make 2 children grow up without a dad, because I'm going to take them close to him. When I decided to separate, I started thinking about what my life would be like. I told him, I'm looking for an apartment, because we're separating. He didn't believe me until last week. Then I said, oh, following now, you sleep in another room, and I sleep in that because we're separating. This is real. You understand what's happening here. At the same time, he said, but you will have the courage to do this. He brought up the lines of children and the family. Then in the end, I said, oh, all right. Do what you want to be better for them. He didn't believe me, and I understood why. I started to say, hey, oh, following now. You sleep in another room, and I sleep in that because the people are separating. We are separating. You understand what's happening here. And then it was, but at the same time, he said, but you will have the courage to do this. He brought up the lines of children and family. Then, in the end, I said, oh, all right, do what you want to be better for you. He didn't believe I would be capable, but with every step I took, I transferred my work to the neighborhood where I'm going to live, because we are going to separate. And then I started, for example, today I will leave because we are no longer married. I'm leaving with a friend today, and we won't come out together anymore. So I had this time to work with him, too. When he arrived, very close to the delivery of the apartment, he started to fall. I was determined to leave, and I did. It was hard, but I knew I had to do it. I had already moved to the neighborhood where I was going to live, because we were going to separate. Then, I started to leave today, because we were no longer married. I left with a friend, and we didn't come out together. I had this time to work with him, too. When he arrived, very close to the delivery of the apartment, he started to fall apart. He was really upset. He entered one, and he was very excited. He wanted to propose solutions. He said to me, but you don't have to leave, and if we do couple therapy. I said, for him, I didn't propose couple therapy so many times, right? And you didn't want to now. I'm leaving now. I was already with my head, divorced, and I had already believed that it was going to work out. I was confident that my divorced life was going to be. He really struggled with feeling hopeless. He tried to work through it with me, saying, I understand you can't coexist with me right now. I want to propose some solutions. I told him, you don't have to leave. If we do couple therapy, it might help. I didn't want to go back to the way things were. I was hopeful that things would get better. He tried to make me feel better by suggesting some changes, but I didn't want to do it anymore. I told him, I understand. I'm already determined to leave. We can't live together, but we can live apart. It had been a year and a half, and it was really hard. You live with someone, and then suddenly you stop touching them. I really wanted to move on, but he was determined to make it work. He tried to make some changes, but I just couldn't do it anymore. I didn't want to listen to him. I understood that he was ready to leave, and that's okay. It was a year and a half, and it was really hard. You live with someone, and then suddenly you can't even kiss them anymore. You start talking about your future, but it's not really possible anymore. You're stuck with this person, and you have to let them go. You have to let go of your expectations of them and your life. It was a really hard time, and we had to live together. We suffered a lot, and we talked about the past a lot. I tried to do things to make him happy, but it didn't work. I said, see how we can't coexist. I know it's hard when you're talking about the future, because your future isn't set in stone just yet. But you've got to start by letting go of the person you're expecting to get out of your life. First, take this person out of your life and out of your expectations. We had to live together, and it was a very tough time. We suffered a lot, talked about the past, and remembered the good times. I played the role of the guy he knows, and I said, "See how I can't coexist with you? I can't handle you," he said. Even for me, it was very difficult. But I managed to organize my life outside, right? I faced this internal battle to be able to prepare outside. I could have left right away, anywhere, but I wanted to do a lot, and it was hard on my daughters. I thought, I don't know if I can, because they were in the scenario of separation, where the parents aren't together, and are dealing badly with each other. And then I know it was really hard for you, and I'm sorry if I made things more difficult. I wanted to make a nice place for us to live, even though it was tough. I wanted to be with someone who would make me happy when I'm older. But I couldn't. I wanted to have a baby with him, but I couldn't. I thought, I don't know if I made the right choice, but I wanted to be with someone who would make me happy when I'm older. If I had a baby with him, I would have a different experience. I'm not sure if I made the best choice, but in my heart, I wanted to create a beautiful home for them. I wanted to live with someone who would support me as I aged. I wanted to have the kind of relationship I'd want when I'm in my 60s. This man wasn't right for me, and if I got pregnant again, I'd be open to living a different experience. I also realized I needed money, because we have accounts, and he was sent away again after arguing with the boss. I have to deal with my impulses. I realized I wasn't willing to be with him and try to improve our relationship. I think the biggest challenge is the number one, re-establishing trust. I think today's relationships are very fluid, and people are very quick to discard them. I think there's a lack of authenticity in our conversations, you know. Like, when we say hi, it's not really hi. I'm looking for someone who's compatible with me, and I think there are a lot of people out there who are hurt and need support. It's a heavy load to carry alone, and I couldn't handle it. But she's playing as if you're the same, or as if you're seeking the same thing. I feel like there's a lack of authenticity in conversations these days. Like, when someone says, "I'm looking for someone," it's like they're searching for a kindred spirit, you know. I think there are so many people out there who are hurt, who are in pain, and who need support. It's so hard when someone you care about is struggling and doesn't know how to deal with it. It's like they're carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, and it's so tough to be there for them. I don't know if I can commit to someone who's still healing, or who doesn't have a clear sense of direction. I don't want to be someone who's just existing, you know. I don't want to be in a relationship just for the sake of it. I want to be with someone who's also looking for something more meaningful. I'm not sure if I'm the best person to help her heal, but I'd like to try. I think it's really important to find a therapy and support network. I know it can be hard to do that these days. I don't like being around people who aren't healed, or who don't know what they want. I don't want to just live for living because I don't see the point. I want to be with one person for a long time, and I don't want to be in a relationship just to be in one. I want to create a bond and an exchange. You can be you. You can be intimate with me. I feel like this is missing a lot today. Being single also misses me in these everyday details that I would like to have someone for, like to accompany me on an exam, or to take me to a really important presentation. I'm super nervous, and the person says I'm going. I really miss having a partner in my everyday life. I'd love to have someone to go with me to an exam, or present with me at work. I'm really nervous, and having that support would make a huge difference. I'd also appreciate having someone to tell me that my day was horrible. I feel like I'm missing out on so much, especially the intimacy and connection you get from being married. It's something that's really special when you share your life with someone. I miss having someone to support me every day. I miss being able to share life with another person. I miss intimacy. I miss the help I got from my spouse every day. I miss the quality of life that comes from being with the right person. I hope to find that again. The main point is financial. I understand that if a woman doesn't have a job, this might not be possible. I really miss helping people with their daily lives. I hope to find someone who can support me financially. I know this is true for all women, but if she understands that her income will decrease and her bills will increase, it will be a big change for us. I think it would be very important for any human being to have a friend who says, "I need help." I still don't feel supported, even though I'm divorced. I will need support, because there will be times when I feel overwhelmed. I'm going to fall back on these people. I really believe that therapy is so important for our mental health. Divorce can really mess with our heads, and it's normal to feel confused. You might think it wasn't better there, but it's better here. But will it ever get better? I'll never find someone cool. I'm so grateful for therapy. It's really helped me sort through all my feelings and thoughts. These 3 points in particular have been super helpful. They've helped me plan how I'm going to live and how I'm going to manage my finances. I'm going to rely on my support network and therapy. I'm so thankful for the advice Doria gave me.